Hello everyone and welcome to this new episode of The Kaiser's Kitchen. When the First World War began in the summer of 1914, life in Germany changed radically within just a few months. The war doesn't just affect the front lines, it invades everyday life, gender roles and household routines. While millions of men in uniform fight at the front, it is the women who take command at home. They work in munitions factories, in public offices and in transport and in the kitchen. In fact, as soon as the conflict started, war was being waged in the households too. And the most important weapon there is self-discipline. By 1915, the German Empire was deep in war. What was expected to be a quick victory had long turned into a war of attrition, both on the battlefield and in daily life. The economy was under pressure, imports have stopped, food was scarce. For many households, that meant hunger, hardship, and struggle. Well, in this episode, we are going to take a closer look at an unusual cookbook from the second year of the war. The German Housewife in the World War, published in Leipzig in 1915. But before that, let's just give a bit of context. With the outbreak of the war, millions of men are sent to the front, leaving women behind to keep the country running in the everyday struggle to provide. Before 1914, many women were already employed, especially in agriculture and urban services, but now the number of working women rose sharply. In a matter of weeks, many women took on roles that were previously seen as exclusively for men, in factory, on trams, in public administration, in different offices, and even in the police. This sudden redistribution of labor roles is dramatic, but it does not really mean equality. The state and many employers explicitly saw women as replacement workers, useful but only temporarily. Wages remained lower, access to qualified professions was limited, women were doing wartime service, not in fact pursuing careers. At the same time, domestic duties like cooking, caring, housekeeping were being infused with new war ideology. Propaganda and bourgeois voices emphasizes the image of self-sacrificing women holding their home together while the men defended the fatherland. The will to endure is not born at the front, but in the heart of the family. Such was the general sentiment spread through newspapers, charitable organizations and women's associations. Especially in cities like Leipzig, many initiatives emerged in which women organized themselves in food distribution centers, teaching kitchens and war relief efforts. And it is precisely here, at the intersection of domestic economy and ideology, that Rosa Brenneke's book comes in, written by a woman actively involved in this network. Rosa Brenneke was the chair of the Leipzig Women's Aid during the First World War, a middle-class organization dedicated to social welfare, family counseling and practical support. Her book, The German Housewife in the World War, was published in 1915 by the Leipzig Association Press and was graciously accepted by the Empress herself. The title proudly proclaims it as the first purely German war cookbook. But between recipes and storage advice lies much more than kitchen technique. It is a blend of manual, moral appeal and national program. The book's message is unmistakable. As Rosa says, produce healthy blood with modest means, then all nations would look with admiration upon German women. It is not taste but discipline that now decides what ends up on the table. The kitchen becomes a training ground for national willpower. The first part is ideological and explains why nutrition is now a national duty and why thrift is a virtue and not deficiency. Brenneke writes, moderation in food and drink is the first commandment of the welfare of the state. She argues against habits seen as dangerous, especially the consumption of alcohol, considered as the enemy of willpower. Not a luxury, but a truly moral threat. In fact, alcohol harms productivity, mental development, and even student performances. Its deceptive, seemingly warming effect leads many to indulge until in the end, willpower is gone and they're fallen victim to alcohol. This attitude was in fact widespread in that time, especially in medical and social hygiene circles. Also key to understand Rosa Brenneke's approach is her conception of frugality as a patriotic principle. Thrift is not portrayed as a deprivation, but as a sign of reason. Avoiding meat is described as not only harmless to health, but even desirable. Meat consumption may have increased since the 1870s, but public health had not. Hence, following Rosa's advice, reduce your meat consumption, you won't suffer. The book emphasizes the importance of grains and potatoes and their full use. Jerusalem artichokes are, for example, recommended as an ideal substitute. Easy to grow, nutritious and suitable for diabetics. As you may already have guessed, a central idea runs throughout this book. During 1915, the kitchen was no longer just a place of provision, but a stage of patriotic responsibility. The stove became therefore a fortress against decline, weakness and disorder. Well, now to truly understand what this book conveys, it's not just enough to talk about it. One needs to taste it. So now, in the spirit of Rosa Brenneke's, we'll prepare a dish that is simple, frugal and yet nourishing and flavorful. A dish that proves you don't need much, just discipline, creativity and a cut of meat you can still find in any supermarket today. Today we're making breaded rib cutlets. However, already that is interesting. At the beginning of the chapter, Rosa makes her intentions clear. Anglicized terms like beefsteak, cutlet have no place in a proper German kitchen. That's why she calls this dish intentionally Rippenschnitte and presents this name as an alternative to the commonly used term cutlets. To prepare this dish, you will need following ingredients. Some pork rib cutlets, enough for 2 persons, a pinch of salt or to taste, some grains of red pepper, 1 or 2 beaten eggs, some freshly grated breadcrumbs, and some fat for frying. Today I'm using rapeseed oil. As a first step for this recipe, Rosa suggests to wash the rib cutlets. Yes, wash them. In the past, in fact, it was common to wash meat before cooking in order to remove dirt, bone fragments or blood. Nowadays, however, this practice is generally discouraged as washing can promote the spread of germs in the kitchen. So we're skipping it today. The rib cutlets are then pounded, salted, sprinkled with a pinch of red pepper. They are then rolled into 2 beaten eggs and grated breadcrumbs. As a next step, they are then fried quickly on both sides until golden brown. Finally, potato slices can also be quickly and crisply fried in it.
Cosa una giornata sola, un'aria serena rompe una tempesta, all'aria fresca pareggia la festa. Che bella cosa una giornata più bello in me, tesoro mio, son pronto a te, tesoro mio, son pronto a te.
Crispy and healthy, with nothing wasted. These cutlets tell a quiet story, which is not just about flavor. At a time when war touched every aspect of life, the kitchen became one of the last places where comfort could be created. A meal like this was no luxury, but expression of continuity, of keeping family together, of preserving daily life when the world has become uncertain. It was in meals like this that many women placed their hopes, that through order, effort and nourishment they could contribute to something larger, the strength of the household and with it the strength of the nation. For this delicious breaded rib cutlets I'm gonna give 7 out of 10 Kaiser points. Rosa Brenneke's cookbook is a reminder that culture lives in small gestures. That even under pressure people found ways to express care, structure and resilience. Not on the battlefield, but by the stove. And with that, our episode comes to a close. But perhaps what lingers is the thought that what we do in our kitchens, in our homes, still matters, even or especially in difficult times. Thank you for watching and see you on the next episode of The Kaiser's Kitchen.